My name is Daniel Cohen, and I want to share something with you that I never thought I'd be able to say out loud, let alone put on camera. On October 19th, 2022, my life changed forever during what was supposed to be an ordinary afternoon hike in the Judean hills outside Modian, just west of Jerusalem. I wasn't alone. I was with my youth group, people I'd known since I was little. We were laughing, snapping pictures, joking around like it was just another adventure. I remember stepping up to this rocky overlook, holding my phone out to take a panoramic shot of the valley, when out of nowhere, a massive flash of blue light lit up the sky. Then everything went completely black. What I didn't know at that moment was that a bolt of lightning had come down straight into my body. They told me later that I hit the ground hard and stopped breathing almost instantly. For exactly 7 minutes and 42 seconds, I was declared clinically dead. I should have been gone for good. No heartbeat, no brain activity, nothing. The strange thing is, I didn't feel fear. In fact, I didn't feel anything like pain or panic. Instead, I felt like I was floating, weightless, calm, and separated from everything I had ever known. I looked down and saw my own body lying there on the ground, surrounded by the other teens and one of our group leaders performing chest compressions. Their faces were panicked and screaming, but I couldn't hear them. I felt like I was slowly drifting away from the scene, almost like someone had picked me up and started carrying me upward. Then I saw this tunnel, this unbelievable tunnel made of light. It wasn't made of glass or stone, but of something alive, like flowing water made of light, soft blue and glowing. I reached out to touch it, and when I did, I felt something rush through me. Not electricity this time, but love. Warm, overwhelming, impossible to describe love. At the end of the tunnel was something even more impossible. It was a garden. No, more than a garden. It was like heaven was blooming all around me. Flowers with colors I've never seen on earth. Air that carried music instead of sound, and trees that responded to the wind with song. I was surrounded by peace, and I knew deep in my soul I wasn't dreaming. Then I saw him. A man was standing near a stream looking straight at me. And though I had never seen him in real life, I knew instantly it was Jesus. But he didn't look like any picture I'd seen in textbooks or art. His eyes, they weren't just eyes, they were galaxies. And when he said my name, Daniel, I felt like my entire body and spirit were embraced by a love so personal, so deep, it made me want to cry. He smiled at me, and it wasn't the kind of smile you see on someone's face when they're trying to be polite. It was a smile that held the weight of the universe, like he knew everything I'd ever thought, every pain I'd ever buried, and still loved me without hesitation. I didn't speak with my mouth, but somehow I thought, but I'm Jewish. Why am I seeing you? It was the only thing that made sense to ask, and he laughed. Not in a mocking way, but like music, like wind chimes in the summer breeze. He said, "Daniel, I've been with you your whole life." And the moment he said that, I remembered moments I had felt protected, times I should have been hurt or lost, but wasn't. I didn't just hear those words. I knew them. I knew he had been watching over me since I took my first breath. He reached out his hand to me and said, "Come, there are things I need to show you." And just like that, the garden faded, and we were standing on the edge of a mountain, higher than anything I've ever seen. Below us, the land of Israel stretched out like a painting, golden and glowing with a pulse like a heartbeat. It looked alive. Jesus looked out over it and said, "This is my land. The land I walked, the land where my heart still beats." It was like he wasn't just talking about history. He was talking about right now. I saw the hills, the cities, the people. Then the light around the land began to dim, and clouds started to swirl over Jerusalem. I watched as the sky turned darker and darker. Armies began to gather near the city, their weapons aimed, their faces filled with hate. People were running, crying out, looking for safety. I could see leaders of different nations watching from a distance, doing nothing. Some of them had once promised to protect Israel, but now they looked away. Jesus turned to me and said, "A time of great testing is coming for this land. Many who claim to be allies will step back. Many will abandon her." His voice was calm, but there was a deep sorrow in it. "My people will suffer, but I have not forgotten them." The scene felt so real, like I was there. I could feel the fear, the pressure, the betrayal, but also something deeper, like hope was hiding just beneath the storm. Then the vision changed again. I saw the American flag, faded and torn, waving in the middle of a large crowd. People were yelling and arguing, and standing in the middle of it all, looking tired but unmoved, was President Trump. Jesus said, "This man has been chosen for this time, not because he is perfect. He is far from perfect, but because he will not abandon my people when the world turns its back." I didn't know what to say. My family didn't like Trump. Most people I knew thought he was loud and divisive. I said, "But he says such awful things sometimes. How can he be chosen?" Jesus looked at me with sadness and said, "I do not choose as men choose. I look at the heart, and when the world aligns against Israel, he will stand firm. That is why he is here in this time." After that, everything shifted again, and suddenly we were back in Jerusalem. But it wasn't like I had ever seen it before. There were people everywhere, gathered around the Western Wall, the Kotel. But they weren't just Jews. There were Christians, Muslims, people in all kinds of different clothing from countries I couldn't even name. But they weren't fighting. They weren't arguing. They were praying together. Some were standing, some were weeping, some were singing, and there was this powerful sense of peace, like something holy was stitching all of them together. Jesus turned to me and said, "This too is coming." After the darkness, there will be a new dawn. Many will begin to understand that they've been calling out to the same God, even if they've used different names. The tears started falling from my eyes right there. I wasn't just watching history, I was seeing the future. A future where peace wasn't forced by politics, but born from truth. "When will this happen?" I asked him. He looked at me not with a date or a timeline, but with gentleness. "Sooner than many think," he said, "but not as soon as some hope. The path is not easy. My people, both those who follow me now and those who still await me, must walk a road of courage." His words hit deep. I could feel that he wasn't just talking about governments or leaders. He was talking about everyday people, families, mothers, fathers, children, people like me. Then his face became serious, like he needed to warn me. "There is something else you must understand," he said. "The leader of Israel, a man not yet in power, will soon rise, and when he does, he will be given a choice between fear and faith." And then I saw it, a large wooden table in a massive room, surrounded by powerful men and women. Sitting in the center was a man I didn't recognize, but somehow I knew he would be the Prime Minister of Israel. He looked exhausted, weighed down. His hands were shaking. He was surrounded by world leaders, urging him to make a deal, a peace agreement. But Jesus whispered, "They will tell him to divide the land, but there is no true peace in dividing what I have made whole." I wanted to speak, to ask more, but I was overwhelmed. My heart was racing. How could I possibly remember all this? How could I explain it to anyone? But before I even had the chance to voice the fear, Jesus looked right into me and said, "Don't be afraid. You don't need to remember everything right now. When the time comes, my Spirit will bring the words back to you." His voice was so comforting, so steady. It didn't feel like pressure. It felt like a promise. I knew in that moment that I had a mission, that this wasn't just something I saw for myself. It was something I had to share. As soon as he said those words, I felt something pulling me backward. It was like being gently swept up in a current, but it was stronger than anything I could resist. I didn't want to leave. I turned to Jesus, begging, "Please let me stay. I feel more alive here than I ever did back there." The pain, the confusion, the fear of the world, it was all gone in this place. This was home. This was safety. But he stepped toward me, placed his hands on my shoulders, and I felt something like fire and water rush through my entire chest. "Your family needs you," he said. "Israel needs your testimony. This is not goodbye. I am with you always, even to the end of the age." I looked into his eyes one last time. They didn't just show me love. They showed me truth. And then he said something I'll never forget. His voice echoed all around me, even though he barely whispered it. "Tell them that I am coming soon. Not as a baby this time, but as a king." And just like that, I was being pulled back through the tunnel. The colors blurred, the music faded, and everything turned dark. Then all at once I heard voices, real voices yelling my name, saying, "He's back. He's breathing." My eyes shot open. Pain surged through my body. I couldn't move, and I could barely breathe. But I was alive. I was in an ambulance, surrounded by paramedics. One of them was placing an oxygen mask over my face. Another was holding pressure to my chest. The pain was unbearable, like my whole torso had been torn apart. I found out later that the lightning had left a massive scar across my body. A Limburg figure. They call it a lightning tree, because it looks like a tree burned into your skin. The doctors told me I should have died. They couldn't explain how I made it through, especially with the current passing through my heart. But I knew. I remembered every moment of it. And even though I could barely whisper, the first thing I said was, "I saw Jesus." My parents rushed into the hospital later that night. My mom cried uncontrollably, holding my hand like she never wanted to let go again. My dad just stood there, pale, staring at the machines, trying to understand what had just happened. When we were finally alone, I told them everything, every single thing I saw. My mom didn't say a word. She just held me and cried. My dad, though, shook his head. He said it must have been my brain making things up, that near-death hallucinations are normal, that our beliefs don't change just because of something emotional. But it wasn't emotional. It was real. I had met the Messiah, and he knew my name. When I got home from the hospital, everything felt different. The walls of my room were the same. The street outside hadn't changed, but I had. I would sit there in the quiet of the night, staring at the ceiling, replaying everything I had seen over and over again. I wasn't afraid of death anymore, but I was deeply aware of life, how fragile it is, how quickly it can end, and how much we take it for granted. My body hurt. There were days I could barely walk without pain shooting through my chest and down my left side. The doctors warned me that there might be long-term damage to my heart, but I didn't care. I'd been given a second chance, and I knew it wasn't for me. It was so I could tell you this story. When I finally returned to school, word had already spread. Some kids treated me like I was radioactive, like I'd gone insane. Others came up to me quietly, asking what really happened. A few of them, especially some Christian kids, started inviting me to sit with them at lunch. They were excited, hopeful, almost relieved. They believed me instantly, even more than I expected. But the Jewish students, most of them, didn't take it well. Some called me a liar. Some whispered that I was a traitor. I'd walk down the halls and hear my name in hushed tones. It hurt more than I thought it would, not because I needed them to agree with me, but because I still loved them, and I wanted them to know what I knew now, that Jesus isn't just for Christians. He came for all of us. As the weeks passed, the world outside started looking more and more like what I had seen. News reports were filled with tension in the Middle East. Israel was facing threats on multiple borders. Countries that used to support us were pulling away, or worse, condemning us in public. It was exactly what Jesus had shown me, right down to the timing. But what shocked me the most was seeing President Trump take a stand when nobody else would. He faced pressure, criticism, even mockery, but he didn't budge. He stood up for Israel when it wasn't popular, when even his own advisors told him not to. And that's when my dad started to pause. One night over dinner, after seeing another news headline, he looked at me and said quietly, Maybe there's something to what you saw after all." Now I live in this strange in-between space. I'm still Jewish. I still light Shabbat candles with my mom every Friday night. I still study Torah. I still respect the traditions of my people. But now, I know something I didn't know before. I know the Messiah has already come, and his name is Jesus, Yeshua. He loves Israel, not just as a land, but as a people, fiercely, protectively, deeply, and he's coming back. I don't know when. I don't know how soon, but I saw it. I felt it. And I was told to tell you because the time we have left is shorter than most of us think. So now every day I wake up with a sense of purpose I never had before. Not because I've got everything figured out. Believe me, I still have questions. But I don't live for the same things anymore. I don't chase approval or worry about what people think of me the way I used to. How could I, after everything I saw? I've stood in the presence of the Messiah. I've heard his voice. I've seen his heart for our people. For the whole world, really. I carry that weight now. Not in a heavy way, but in a sacred way. I know I was sent back for a reason, and no matter how hard it gets, I won't stop speaking about what happened. If you've listened this far, it's not by accident. Maybe you felt something tugging at your heart while you listened to my story. Maybe you're Jewish like me, and you've always felt that longing for something more, but didn't quite know what it was. Or maybe you've never really believed in anything, but something inside you is waking up now. I'm not here to preach at you. I'm here to tell you the truth I saw with my own eyes, felt with my own soul. Jesus, Yeshua, is alive. He's not a symbol or a story from another religion. He's real. He's the Jewish Messiah, and he's coming back. He didn't send me back to scare people. He sent me back to warn them and to love them, to tell them that the days are getting shorter, that the world is shifting just like he said it would, that there will be betrayal and conflict and chaos, but there will also be hope and miracles and unity. He showed me a future where people of every nation, of every faith, came together, not because of politics, not because of religion, but because they finally recognized the truth about who he is. I believe we're heading toward that day, but we each have a choice to make right now, today. Who are you going to serve? Who are you going to trust? The world or the one who made it? Before I go, I want to ask you something. Not as a preacher, not as a prophet, just as a person who's been somewhere most people haven't. If this story stirred something in you, if even a small part of you felt like it could be true, don't ignore it. Don't brush it off and move on to the next video. Take a moment, sit in silence, ask God to show you the truth for yourself. And if you're ready, if you want to give your heart to the one who knows your name, who formed you, who died for you, and who's coming back as king, then just speak to him right now. Wherever you are, he's listening. Thank you for hearing my story. I don't know how long I have left. None of us do. But as long as I'm breathing, I'll keep sharing what I saw, because Jesus didn't save me just for my sake. He sent me back for yours. If this story meant something to you, please don't let it stop here. Like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to this channel for more real stories of people who've seen heaven, experienced death, and met the living God. You never know whose heart might be changed just by hearing what he showed me. Until next time, stay awake, stay ready. He's coming soon. That moment when I said goodbye to Jesus and returned to this world still echoes in my heart every day. I wake up, and it's the first thing I think about. Not because I'm afraid of what I saw, but because I'm in awe that I even survived it. I shouldn't be here. I was clinically dead for over 7 minutes. No one expected me to live, let alone walk out of that hospital and tell this story. But God had other plans. He wanted me to carry something back with me, something eternal. And even now, I sometimes feel him reminding me like a whisper in my spirit. Don't forget. Tell them. That's why I'm doing this. Not for views, not for attention, but because I saw something too powerful to keep to myself. I don't care if people call me crazy. I don't care if they try to disprove it with science or dismiss it as imagination. I know what I experienced. I know the look in his eyes. I know the weight of his words when he said, "I've been with you your whole life." That sentence broke something open inside me. It made me realize how blind I'd been. All the times I felt alone, lost, confused. Even the moments I doubted my own faith, he was there. Watching, protecting, waiting. Not once did he turn his back on me, even when I didn't believe in him. And now, I just want you to know that he's been with you too, every single second of your life. You might be struggling right now. Maybe your life feels like a mess. Maybe your heart feels numb, or your spirit feels broken. I get it. I've been there. I lived a life where tradition was everything, where questions were frowned upon, and where Jesus was a name you didn't say unless you were arguing against him. But then I died. And in those few minutes between this life and the next, everything changed. He didn't come to me with anger. He didn't come with judgment. He came with love, with truth, with peace so strong it made all my fear melt away. And if he came to me, he will absolutely come to you, right now, right where you are. So if you've made it this far into this video, I want to thank you with all my heart. You didn't just hear a story. You received a piece of truth that came straight from heaven. Please don't let it stop here. Share this testimony with someone you love. Leave a comment if something spoke to you. And if you're ready to learn more about who Jesus really is, the Jewish Messiah, the one who holds Israel in his hands and the world in his heart, subscribe to this channel. We share real stories of people just like me who have crossed the veil and come back to tell what they saw. My name is Daniel Cohen. I died. I met Jesus, and he told me to tell you he's coming soon.